Adventures in Gaming.
with Big Man Anthony.
And Little Man George.
But anyways, what do you think of the name? I was going to ask you
That's
because
what I was going to ask you.
yeah,
So the big conversation is, did Nintendo play it too safe, right?
yeah,
Is this unlike Nintendo? Because Nintendo's quirky, right? We got the Wii and a DS and, all these sort of fun Nintendo consoles over the years. I still think this is like the Wii U, you know, problem, that they're trying to avoid after all these years, where they had a very successful brand with the Wii and they
mhm,
couldn't follow it up, right? The Wii was a big hit and
yeah,
it was like a household name and
yeah,
it sort of became its own brand
yeah,
and it appealed to non-gamers, right?
yeah,
That was the idea and it worked, but they
yeah,
couldn't follow it up, right? They couldn't follow up the Wii because the Wii U tanked.
yeah,
And the Wii U, we could do a whole show about the Wii U. Um, a lot of people say that part of the problem was the name. What is a Wii U? Is it a new Wii? Is it an accessory for the Wii? People thought the tablet was something that you bought for the Wii, that it wasn't a new system. So
yeah,
I think, they're under new leadership now, Nintendo. And I think that this new regime is trying to be so careful to not repeat the Wii U that they're like, there's no way to not
That's-
understand a two.
yeah,
A two means the next, right? It's not the
yeah,
one
yeah.
anymore, it's
I
the
think
two.
that is the point. I think that
That's
that
the
is
point of it.
the point of it is they didn't want to confuse
No
people.
confusion,
They wanted to be clear cut
even
that
if it's
this is the
boring.
new Nintendo. Yeah, even if it is boring, but the whole idea was to clear cut it because I think in the Wii U, like you said, I even saw that in the comments as another thing I saw in the comments where people were saying, listen, when the Wii U came out, that U just people just thought maybe it's an accessory,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's something, or maybe it's just like a souped up version of the Wii
Mm-hmm. Yeah, an
because it's
HD
still a
Wii.
Wii,
Yeah.
like it's still a Wii, but there is no number. And so like either they change the name, which is a whole different name, or they do a two. But because the system has the same form factor, because it's very similar to the original, I think it was easier for them to just say, okay, you know what, instead of a new name, let's just name it the two,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they had so much success with it. Why mess with something that has success, right?
Yeah, they're not ready to move away from it yet. They're not ready for the
Yeah,
next thing. They want to continue the Switch. You know, they've done this before. I mean, they've had a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advance and a DS and a 3DS, but they never had it like two. There was never a Game
yeah,
Boy 2. There was never a DS 2. Even the
yeah,
Nintendo to the Super Nintendo. Everyone knew the Super Nintendo was the next system, but it wasn't the Nintendo 2.
yeah,
So this is them being the most careful they've ever been,
yeah,
taking the least risks they've ever taken,
yeah,
and playing it as safe as they possibly can play it. And they're not ready to move on from the Switch. So it's almost like logically it has to be a Switch 2. There's no other way to go. The logo could look better. The logo, I mean, is just a 2. I mean, it's really just,
yeah. They could have even done the font a little
they could have done
different.
something better with
Yeah,
the look.
yeah. Maybe the
You know,
colors of like how the Nintendo and like yeah, they could have done something a little bit more. But I look, I honestly think that they're playing it serious, like saying like serious, like yeah, this is a serious gaming. Like you could play like those kind of games like Call of Duty, like GTA 6. Like you could finally like I think they want to be in that realm. These this this turnaround. At the same time, we're still Nintendo. We still have our Nintendo games
mm-hmm.
and we still have our kid friendly games and we still have so I think that they want to kind of combine it. I think it's a smart move because Nintendo already is a success, so people are going to buy it just because they're Nintendo fans. But at the same time, they need a new audience to keep growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense. It makes sense to do that.
Yeah, this is the longest they've ever gone without introducing a new system. So
I wanted to talk to you about the
about the what?
dock,
The
the
dock.
dock. Yeah, the dock, the dock. So I'm a little disappointed with the dock, but only because I hyped it up so much in my head. Like honestly,
It's rounder.
the reason, yeah, but I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb from the system, and the idea that they said that they didn't. just use like let's say a little cable with so it makes it look like a console system.
Hmm.
Then if you want to make it look like a console system, how cool would it have been if it was like old school style, like Nintendo NES, where you grabbed it and pushed it, slided it in, even if you don't push it
Like the
down.
cartridge, the Switch is the
Yeah, like
cartridge.
it was like this, and it was a hole. You take off the controllers, you place them on the side with two magnetics, like clack, you know, and you slide in the so that was where the controllers would charge on the side of the box, and then the box would be like just a solid box with a little hole where you slide in the system, and now it looks like a squared normal you know console, but at the same time it had that Nintendo like I'm pushing the cart in kind of feeling, bringing it back to retro, which is really cool. um,
It's funny how you said it sticks out like a sore thumb because I did think how the rounded look doesn't match the square Switch,
yeah,
right? Where the old one, the Switch 1, was square and square. This is like round and
and it's
square.
smaller, which makes it look weird because the system is bigger. So it just kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't impressed by the dock, but I'm hoping one thing about the dock. One thing that I'm hoping about the dock is that it ups the power a little.
Hmm.
Like you docking it will give unlock some certain, I don't know, an extra graphics GPU or something, or maybe even unlock the full potential of the graphics chips.
I think it will give it some performance boost
Yeah.
in docked mode. Yeah, more so than the original Switch. I think that is going to be part of the Switch too. I think we're going to get um,
But
a,
will it have anything like fans? Do you think? Will it have any fans? Do you think it'll have a GPU? Do you think it'll have anything? You know what else would be cool to have on the dock? A battery. Let's say on the go, you have the dock, and let's say because it's a square,
you want
you can literally dock it.
bring the dock with you, not
Yeah,
just the
bring the
Switch.
dock with you. You dock it, and you have a battery. So these are like things that I know that they could improve on that could be done to the dock.
But I don't think
Um,
it's going to have the battery. I don't think they're
I
doing
don't think
that.
it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna do any of these things. But you could be wishful about it,
I
right?
think it will, however they go about it, whether it's with fans or if there's some sort of extra processor in the dock,
Yeah.
they will have uh, some sort of boost to the system when it's docked. And I think we're gonna see, we're gonna learn a lot more about this
Mm-hmm.
in April, and I think we're gonna get a lot of these questions answered. And I think this teaser is gonna. I think you even said it. It sort of it gave us more questions than answers for now. It was just
Yeah.
a
So
look at
I
it.
think they said a lot because they made you kind of wonder what is really happening. You know, what is really happening. I think that's kind of the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, and it was just to let people know that there is a Switch 2, and we acknowledge it, and it's real,
Yeah.
and here's a look at it, and we're going to get back to you with all the details and the games. Don't forget about the games. That's going to be the real selling point no matter what this hardware is. You're going to get the next Mario game, the next Zelda game, the next Splatoon. Every franchise is going to be represented. I hope that there's a new game altogether, a new IP, something, a completely new
Mhm.
franchise. They don't do that as much as they used to, and I would like to see that for sure. And I think what we're going to have to do is another,
You're cutting one out. You're cutting something out before we even go into the games.
well, I think we're going to have to do another Switch 2 video. That's what I was going
What
to
do you?
say.
It's just a simple thing. What do you think about the slap sound, the new sound that everyone thinks is going to be the new,
Click. Yeah.
click sound? Do you think that is the new sound? Do you
Yes.
think it is? Right, it is.
I think that's the new sound, and I think even though we
Yeah,
didn't see it, I think the new animation to go with the sound is going to be the Joy Cons, meeting this way instead of going up and down. They're going to meet.
yeah. No, that's cool. Everyone likes the new sound, and I think one of the reasons why I think they think it might have been like magnets is the reason for you ever slap two magnets together, they make that like
Mm-hmm.
clap sound. So I think maybe it's a hint to the magnets, and it's also going to be the new sound of the click, which
Yeah,
is
it's
kind of
going to
cool.
be in all the advertising. It's going to be in all the commercials. That sound effect. Yeah, I think for sure that was the new the new sound for the new Switch.
And
And
the thing you wanted was the thicker controllers, remember? And they are kind of thicker, but
they're bigger.
they didn't really make them thicker. They
No,
just
they
kind of
made them
zoomed
longer.
them in. Like they
Yeah.
just made them bigger to fit the size of the
Hmm.
system, but they
Yeah.
weren't really designed to be wider like we everyone was expecting. But they did make it thicker on the top, which I think it was so for the comfort of the top buttons. Which is a lot of people are happy about that. I don't know what you found it, but it gives it a little bit probably also more grip because it's going to be heavier. So I guess it could lay on your, you know,
Yeah. I
well,
think
I
that
don't
was
know,
almost like part of the problems with the original Switch is that the Joy Cons felt light
yeah,
while the system itself, the tablet, has a little bit of weight to it. So you're using two sort of the weight distribution is off basically
yeah,
because you're using something light to hold something heavy. And I
yeah,
think this at least looks like it's going to have a sturdier
yeah,
construction,
definitely,
so
yeah,
you're gonna have, it's gonna feel like a solid unit. It,
yeah,
hopefully, I think that's the idea of it, because that's something I'm always very very careful when I play in handheld mode, because
yeah,
everyone talks about how their Joy Cons got loose. Everyone talks about
yeah.
how they have
Or how
problems
they
with it.
twist, or how they're like,
Yeah, they
yeah,
fall off
I
even.
always got scared. Like nothing ever happened, but it feels awkward to have a little bend in it,
Yeah,
and I don't think it's gonna have that bend. It's gonna feel sturdier this time.
yeah.
At the same time, in one thing that I was disappointed was that, well, not only me, I've seen a lot of people in reviews.
Hmm.
It's too thick. Like it's the same thickness. They could have gone a little thinner these days, maybe because of the cooling in it. I don't know what it was, but it's still thick, and it's still the bezels are still a little big, but maybe because they want to release I don't know,
A Switch to OLED
yeah, like
eventually.
OLED, OLED Switch 2
Yeah,
maybe.
they'll do that. They will.
Now it has like
A
those
couple years.
tiny like little bezels. It could be that's what they're doing, but that's something that they could have improved on the bezels, on the thickness. Um, do you think it's going to be plastic or is it going to be metal still?
I think it's plastic. There were people talking about if the kickstand is metal. It's possible the kickstand could be metal. I don't know.
I heard the controllers are really light, very light, which kind of upsets me because that means they didn't do what we were hoping is put a bigger battery in there, to last longer, But other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm all excited about the new Switch,
Yeah, I
and
think that it's if you go back a few years, I think we'll talk about this in the future. When everyone wanted a Switch Pro,
yeah,
right? This is basically that, but they skipped that step and they went right to the next generation. So you're getting everything in one system. They didn't do the mid-gen refresh. They didn't do like a PlayStation 4 or 5 Pro. They didn't do
yeah,
that. And I think this is what everyone wanted. The only thing is it's a little safe and it's not as exciting, but to have a better Switch, I mean, is really, I think, what everyone wanted. And I don't think Nintendo's done with the concept of the hybrid system. So why not keep the Switch going? Because I don't think they're done with it. I think, don't forget, they combined their entire handheld, division with their entire console division. They don't have a second system anymore. They always
yeah,
had since 1989. They've had two systems: a home system, a console, and a handheld.
yeah,
Now they don't anymore. All their eggs are in one basket.
yeah,
And they're not ready to go back to separating the two, you know,
yeah.
having two systems again.
No,
They're not going
no,
to do that. That'll
yeah.
be crazy.
No, and
So,
it's competition is so much harder that
yeah.
way. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So
No.
yeah, I think they did the right move on doing that. Knowing Nintendo and how they could push consoles to their limits,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping they pull off stuff like they did with Donkey Kong Country, the way they did when Rare came out with Killer Instinct. When people were just shocked at like the games they were putting out, like I can't wait for this power to be like the stepping stool for them to get back into that game and be like, yo, we could still shock you with the graphics.
Yeah.
So that'd be really cool.
Yeah, there was probably no system that they ever pushed to the limits more than the Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
I would love to do like a whole video about that, like from the
yeah,
beginning until the end of Super Nintendo. It's
yeah,
almost
yeah.
like
They
another.
were getting close to Neo Geo
They were getting
graphics
close to
levels.
a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
things. Yeah,
It
I
was
mean,
crazy. Yeah,
they were doing polygons, pre-rendered graphics,
yeah.
you know, um, a
They
lot of
even had
stuff
chips. I heard. I was watching a whole video how they have chips inside the
inside the
games to
cartridges.
boost the
Yeah,
graphics. That's what I'm saying. I hope that there's something in that dock that just boosts a little bit
I
more
think
the
there is.
graphics?
I think that's going to be part of it, and we'll learn about that. I think that's going to be part of the selling point for this. Is you'll get this has to either
Yeah,
um, go beyond 1080p, at least up to 4K. It
yeah,
has to
yeah,
because you know the Switch One did 1080p.
yeah,
You know, Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, they're 1080p games. They have to go beyond that now, and I think they will. And I think the dock is going to do that. I think the dock is going to give you the you know the 4K upscale that is going to basically be what this system is all about. It can't just be the mouse. It can't just be the kickstand.
yeah,
It can't
yeah.
just be the size of the screen. It has to be performance. It has to be graphics and performance.
Yeah, if it's like the way we're talking about, it's not going to have a competition with the Xbox or the PlayStation, unless you're just one of those fans who just goes for it. But it's definitely a system I'm picking up. And last but not least, what do you think about the games that are coming out? Which ones do you know rumored that are coming out, and which ones are you expecting or hoping for them to come out? Just like a quick, and then we'll go about it in another video. But just like a little list.
Mario Kart.
A
I think
list,
we know
yeah,
that. Um,
yeah.
I think that's Mario Kart 9. That wasn't Mario Kart 8. I think it's way overdue for a 3D Mario game.
Uh-huh.
There has to be a 3D
Yeah,
Mario game.
yeah.
Uh, we're not ready for a new Zelda game. It takes them way too long to make a 3D Zelda, and we just
Do you
got
think they
one.
might do a remastered or something
They'll do
like that?
remasters. They might remake a Zelda game, but
Yeah,
as far as a brand new one, I think it's a few years away because 2023 was Tears of the Kingdom, and that's just not enough time to make a new one. I think there's debate because they already announced Metroid Prime 4 for the original Switch. Maybe it'll come out on both systems because that's like a system pusher basically. That game is probably going to be the best graphics on the Switch One.
yeah,
So we'll see if that comes to the Switch Two. It's also backwards compatible, so you'll still be able to play.
yeah.
You know, that's another good question though. Are the old games going to get a boost?
Yeah, that I was going to talk to you about that. That was the next thing I was saying. Like, will they open up the frame rate? Will they open up the frame rate? I hope they do, because that's what PlayStation and Xbox did. I mean, the original one to do that was Xbox. Let's hope they open up the frame rate because some of those beautiful games that they used to have were playing almost at 20 frames, which is really difficult. I mean, it's not the same game if you could play it like at now, let's say 60. That'd be awesome. Like, I mean, that'd be a whole new game. Those are the
Yeah.
games everyone was trying to mod and play on PC just so they could get those type of graphics, and also maybe have like a little bit of like better, maybe better anti-aliasing or maybe upscaling going on too, just to get that going with just the power without having to even touch the game, you know
Well,
what I
that's what I
mean?
was going to say. Is it done through patches or is it just done through the hardware?
Well, it's done through the hardware, but normally they have to patch some games that have kinks by using that hardware, the new hardware, so
Yeah,
they're
someone
definitely gonna have to
said
patch.
once that if the old Switch games were uncapped frame rates,
Hmm.
that they would run better on Switch 2 automatically because they were uncapped.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they were locked to 30,
yeah.
then they wouldn't automatically go to 60, let's say, just because there's more power in the Switch 2.
That's why I'm hoping they uncap it, but you also have to remember that there's screen tearing when you uncap it. You
Yeah, but
get what I'm
not
talking
every
about?
game is uncapped, right? Some games are capped.
Yeah,
So if they're
which yeah.
capped, I don't know that you could change that, right? Wouldn't that have to
But
be patched?
maybe the new screen does have VRR, variable refresh rate, and that will allow them to now. That I think the reason why then companies don't uncap things like that is because they're worried about the screen tearing, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And if you get rid of the screen tearing by having VRR enabled in the screen that you're playing on, right? Then you won't have to have that. You can unlock it and not worry about it. It's not perfect, but it's almost way better than not having it. If you know,
I think we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. I don't know. I mean, I would love the old games to run better. I mean, I
yeah.
think that's something everybody would like, because it
I
would give you a
think I
reason to.
think that's where they're going. And because I have the PlayStation Pro and I've seen it work on also the Xbox when the series came out, the Series X, I've seen how they do it. So they do use the hardware. They push it with little things like, you know, the anti-aliasing. They push it with upscaling already built into the system because it's going to have it, right? But but at the same time, they have to patch these things because they're not perfect. You know, some games just glitch because that's how software is, and they have to, you know, so they're not. It's not going to automatically be every game at launch, I believe. If knowing Nintendo, they probably will do it one by one type of game to make sure that the games don't glitch, which would be kind of the opposite of what PlayStation did. They just threw it out there, and the games that glitched, everyone complained, and then they started fixing those. Like that was the way they did it. And, you know, there's two ways of going about it. You throw it out there and see which games glitches, which I kind of like because that way you can try it and you can always turn it off. They had the ability to turn it off on the Pro, and then when they fix it, you turn it back on. I hope that's one thing that Nintendo's gonna do because that'd be so fun to have your whole collection and now you boost it. It's just it's a better experience. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know that they're going to go too far with it, but
yeah,
you never know. But I think we'll find out, when they do the direct and we'll get
yeah,
more answers. I don't think they're going to say anything between now and the direct anyway. I think that was it for now. I mean, there'll be
yeah,
rumors, there'll be leaks, there'll be all types of things.
yeah,
But yeah, and then the games will be, I think for me the most exciting part because almost every game is due for a new entry. Every franchise needs a new game at this point. And we'll get all of those on the Switch too. And they'll be better, they'll look better, they'll have
yeah,
more innovations. Look how popular Astrobot is on the PlayStation.
yeah.
So I
Oh my
think
god, yeah,
like the Mario team is looking at that game and
yeah.
saying, hey,
We're losing out
that's
on this.
our thing, right? So we got to
Yeah,
really push the limits on our next
yeah.
game. I'm sure the next game is already ready, though. I don't think. I think there's going to be a Mario game this year.
That brings up a question. Do you think they enhanced the controllers to have a little bit more like the rumble to have a little bit more touch tile kind of feel like a PlayStation? Not
I
like
mean,
a
they've always
PlayStation.
had some kind of rumble. I don't know if it'll
Yeah,
be any better this time around. They've always kind
yeah.
of improved it though from every, you know,
Generation, yeah.
previous generation. Yeah, so I think that they'll do something.
All right, so then I guess we'll see you in the next episode, guys.
All right, already.
We're out.